Hi, I would like to take a couple minutes to talk about effective collaboration. I don't have a lot of money, I don't have a lot of time, and I really find production rewarding. One of the things that makes production rewarding, and that's really important when you don't have a lot of time or a lot of money, is learning to collaborate. And so if you're watching this video, it's highly likely that you also don't have a lot of money and don't have a lot of time. And so hopefully some of the things that I talk about will give you some insight or strategies to becoming an effective collaborator. One strategy to keep in mind when you're working in a team is to remember that all of you have some goals that overlap. That even though some people might be there for the little paycheck or somebody might be there for the credit, at the end of the day everybody wants to do a good production. They want to be able to have something that goes in their demo reel, have something that might be able to get into some festivals, that might just be something that they enjoy. And so when you're trying to get people to collaborate, try to remember those things that you all have in common in terms of a goal. Because sometimes conflicts are going to show up, you're going to have drama or tension, and it becomes easy to sort of think about, well, this is my production, this is what I want to do, this is how I need to do it. And in order to get other people to buy into that, one of the things that you need to be able to do is frame the goals that you have, your individual goals, in terms of the goals that the other people have. So that, remember, that everybody wants it to be good. Everybody wants it to be as great as possible. And when you don't have any time and you don't have any money, sometimes that can be really tough. And so when you're thinking about working with your collaborators, try to keep in mind those goals that you all have in common. Use those to motivate each other, and use those to be what gets you through the day, through the week, through the month, however long the shoot is. Another important part of collaboration is making sure that people are accountable. Make sure that everybody understands what is expected of them, what their roles are, what the outcomes that are desired about them, and set a game plan. And if people aren't acting responsibly, you need to hold them accountable for that, because you all need to be pulling in the same direction. Now, of course, regardless of whatever your position is, you also need to hold yourself accountable. You do not want to be put into a position where you're being hypocritical, and you don't want to be put into a position where people feel like you are the one that's the problem. So when you're collaborating, make sure that people understand those duties and responsibilities, and that there is a mechanism by which people can be held accountable. Read any interview with a filmmaker or television producer who has worked with the same group of people from production to production. And one of the things that you'll find is they find that collaborative spirit really rewarding and helpful. And one of the components of that collaborative environment is those filmmakers, those producers, those individuals trust the other people, and they trust the director, the filmmaker, the producer to be able to carry out whatever it is that they expect to be done as well. Collaboration is strongly connected to a sense of trust, a sense of camaraderie, and an understanding that if I ask you to do something, I trust that it will be done. And those individuals trust that, one, if they ask you to do something, you'll be able to do it, and two, that you know what you're talking about, and they can trust that all of the people involved are moving toward the same goal. A fourth component of effective collaboration is keeping things positive. One of the things that I really try to do when I teach, when I'm on production, or even when I'm doing these videos, is to try to frame action and behavior in terms of what can be done, what should be done, what ought be done, as opposed to saying, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this other thing. There is plenty of research that suggests that if you're trying to persuade individuals to do a particular behavior, of course, first you need to change their attitudes, but second, you need to frame the behavior in terms of something that they can do. And so being positive, framing things in terms of action is going to be very helpful. Look, you're going to run into trouble on production. That's one of the hardest and worst things about production, but it's also one of the things that, well, gets my blood flowing in a good and positive way. Turn challenges into opportunities, turn obstacles into doorways. All those cliches actually have value. Because when you're trying to collaborate with individuals, they are going to sometimes say something silly. If you're trying to come up with a story idea, they might throw something at you that you're not expecting, or you might throw something at them. One of the things that I often say with my collaborators when we're doing different brainstorms and idea generation practices is, well, it's an idea, because the least that we can say about it is that it was something that we thought of. That means it has value. It doesn't mean that it's inherently good. It doesn't mean that inherently we ought to go do it. But what it does mean is that we acknowledge that we are trying to create an environment in which this little harebrained idea or this strange way of doing something might have value. We'll pursue it as far as it makes sense to go. We'll try to remember it, and maybe we'll come back to it. Maybe we'll come back to it next week. Maybe we'll come back to that on a totally different shoot. But if you can create an environment in which people feel safe enough, they trust in your positivity, that if they come up with an idea, it isn't inherently going to be regarded as negative, you'll find that they get more involved, they get more engaged. Effective collaboration is tricky, but I think if you follow at least these 4 basic points, you'll find that collaboration becomes a little easier, things become a little bit more positive, and that at the end of the day, the production experience is better, and that hopefully the finished work reflects that positive environment. If you can create a system in which everybody understands their mutual goals, in which there are accountability and trust factored into those goals, and in which behavior, attitudes, creativity can be channeled into positive, action-oriented ways, you're going to find that production becomes a little bit more rewarding, and collaboration becomes even more effective. I hope this video is helpful, and thanks for watching.